What's up, and welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows, and you guessed it, beer. We feature a beer of the week each and every week. We like to dive into a main topic. We talk about the news. We talk about what we've been reading or watching lately. And today's topic, of course, is Christmas monsters. And we got some Christmas beer because, of course, it is the Christmas season. 'Tis the season, if you will. And we like to talk a little bit of everything. We talked last week about Home Alone to kick it off. This week, we're going to talk Christmas monsters. We got a Christmas special coming up. So go ahead, subscribe, Hops Geek News, any podcasting platform, YouTube, TikTok, social media, same name everywhere. Come find us there. Come hang out with us on Discord where we get to just watch me talk about Jingle All the Way and Legos, and we talk
Be
about a
really
lot of
mean to
cool
me when I
stuff.
bash Jingle All the Way.
Yes. There's one thing I won't tolerate in this. And it's Jingle All the Way bashing. I will not
And
tolerate it.
Batman versus Superman bashing. You don't tolerate that either.
Yes. Even more so Jingle All the Way bashing because it's a perfect movie.
Really? So that
Yes.
one's above
Yes, it
Martha.
is. That is.
Interesting.
You can bash
Okay.
Batman v Superman. That's fine. But Jingle All the Way. Put those cookies down.
That's from Glenn Ross. Put that cookie down. Oh, it's
Oh.
coffee, not cookie. But then they do that
Howard, your wife's
in Boss
cookies.
Baby. That movie was so weird. I really do think it's one of
Oh.
those movies you have to watch when you're younger to appreciate it.
Probably, but I love shitty movies anyways. It's Hallmark season. I'm balls deep in Hallmark, if you will, and we'll get to those.
Jingle
So
balls.
first things first, our beer comes from a little known brewery close to my house called the Virginia Beer Company. It is a holiday milk stout called Evil Santa. What a beer that befits this episode. Lauren, tell us a little bit about this beer.
I feel like it should say on here because it says Virginia beer on the can. It should say like, yes, Virginia, there is an evil Santa.
It's
Um,
me.
so it says it has cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. But what I love about this beer is that it smells very sweet. It smells. Oh, I love that glass so
It
much.
does. It does smell sweet, and it's very nice and dark. If you're on YouTube, you can see the nice little darkness of it with my little glass.
Mini abominable. But when you taste it, it's not overly sweet. It's a very like dry stout,
Oh,
and
it's
I
very subtle,
love that. Yes. So
but you
I
get
was
a
a
lot of
little
spice
concerned.
flavors,
Like
though.
you do, yes, but you don't get like it's like the allspice is a little bit stronger than the cinnamon and nutmeg because sometimes when
Right.
you put those in there, it's like too overwhelming.
Well, it's
But
like
this is like
those
perfect.
breweries that do pumpkin beers, and it's
Mm,
way too strong. Or some of those breweries they'll do like a peppermint, and you get really hit in the face with peppermint. And there's
love a good
actually
peppermint stout.
something this brewery does, and they do actually their Evil Santa, but it's a peppermint version, so it tastes just like a peppermint mocha coffee from Starbucks, and it's not overbearing like some are. Again, like they really seem to have found
Mastered it.
how, yeah, they've mastered their notes of all the flavors. It's 7%, so it's not crazy either by any means. And I really enjoy this tap room. It's actually pretty close to my house. It's only like 10 minutes away from my house, and
That's awesome.
it's kind
I didn't
of
realize
like,
it's a milk stout.
yeah, it's right off on this like
It's
corner
not
street.
sweet like a
They
milk stout.
usually have
Thank
like
goodness.
musical events going on. Because they have a stage, they have food trucks going on. They had this really good crepe food truck there when I went on my birthday. The staff are all like extremely nice. And I will say something. Uh, they had a problem one night. I went to go get a flight, and I asked for a flight, and they were looking at me weird, and I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, we don't really have many flight glasses left. People have pretty much ransacked us because I took my dad that day, and people like took all of their flight glasses, so they didn't really want to do a flight." And I was like, "Man, I was like, that
Did they have
sucks."
really cool flight glasses? I'm
No, like
guessing.
they weren't even. They just had their logo on them. Like, okay,
Huh.
cool, but people were just thieving them all day. And so I was like, I'm not gonna like. I do a podcast. We talk about beer. We're very big on supporting local comic shops, breweries, like support the little man, right? And so
Right.
he was like, "Hey, I'll be cool with it." He gave me a flight, and he was like, "Hey, I didn't mean to be weird." I was like, "Dude, you weren't weird. I get it. Like, you're low on glasses because people stole them, and like,
Hmm.
you just were kind of irritated at that point. It's a 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, and but
I've
they're
been to
really
a
cool
brewery
about
more
it.
than once where they were like out of glasses, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, give us a minute." Or when I was at a brewery in Mexico in Cozumel, like I was at a table with a bunch of friends, and they all had flights, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll do a flight." She's like, "You got to wait until I get somebody else's flight board and can clean all the glasses."
and like it sucks. I used to be that person. Don't get me wrong, but then like that's before I became, I guess, not such a little shit, right? Because it just
We all
sucks.
had our
Don't do
moments. We
that.
always did dumb shit when we were young
Yeah,
that we
but
regret.
their staff is really friendly. Their brewing systems are really nice and cool. Their beers are really good. They do a lot of cool beers. They do like Pride themed beer too. They team up with like William and Mary College here, so they do a lot of cool stuff. I
Wonder if
like
it's the college
supporting
kids
them.
stealing the glasses.
I mean, it might have been William and Mary's close to that one, but the main one that they go to is Precarious because William and Mary's across the street from Precarious pretty much. And but that Precarious gets slammed in the evening, so I don't like going to Precarious in the evenings just because of how packed it
Mm,
gets there. It's really kind of overwhelming.
that
Versus like
sounds
Virginia
fun.
beer is like in a warehouse, kind of has that old startup kind of vibe as breweries kind of did when the craft beer boom hit. And there's just like that
Yeah.
old kind of like warehouse rustic vibe, I guess. And it's very cool inside. I enjoy it. So
I mean, when
go
you'd
hit
be
them
like,
up.
are we about to get murdered or are we about to find a
Yeah, but
brewery?
it's very friendly and welcoming. It's awesome. Yeah, I love it, man. So if you're in Williamsburg, checking out Busch Gardens or Old Town Williamsburg, Jamestown, anything, make sure you go and hit up the Virginia Beer Company. Tell them we sent you. And yeah, that's our
We'll be like, who?
long-winded. They're like, yeah, of course they're gonna be like who because I
Come
haven't
on,
really been able to
man.
make my rounds and drop stickers yet. But I'm gonna tag them in this episode. They're gonna see our beer, so maybe they'll take notice.
There you
Maybe
go.
I'm gonna try to do some like events with some breweries around here. I
I
think
like
because
it.
that fits the vibes, man. Anyways, you have a little shout out this week. Who are we shouting out this week?
So one of our Patreons, Scott, actually messaged us. He said after he was listening to one of our episodes, he messaged me a meme that I've seen since, so I think it's going around. And it looks like a bunch of like scientists in a lab doing research, and it says Hallmark researchers say they are close to developing a second movie plot. So
Haha.
obviously that was for you and your love of Hallmark
I love
movies. So
Hallmark, man.
I thought
I
it was
watched.
hilarious.
I'll get to that in a second. I will shout out to Scott though for real because he also hit us up and was like, "Yes, that's what furnaces looked like up in the north
Yeah.
back in the day too." Because we didn't know. I never seen one like that. Lauren doesn't have those in Florida, and so the old Home Alone furnace is what the furnaces look like. So that's pretty cool. Shout Scott's one of those, man. He supports the show. We really appreciate that. Everybody who supports the show through Patreon. If you want to be a supporter of the show, patreon.com/HopsGeekNews.
And
And
Patreons will be getting a little Christmas
little
gift soon.
Christmas stuff is going to be coming out to
Um,
our Patreons. Yes.
I did have my heater on this week. So did quite
Ooh.
a few other people. Got down into the 40s this week.
Dude, it's been getting down to the teens here at night. And it's supposed to rain this weekend too. And like, give me the snow. I
I
want.
was
It
gonna say,
doesn't
does
really
that?
snow
Yeah.
here, but it hardly
Oh,
snow. We have one snowplow in like the peninsula area of Virginia, I guess. But
hmm.
who knows? Maybe this is the year. We'll see. Let's go into what we've been reading or watching. Why don't you start us off with what you've been looking and diving into and all of the good stuff?
So one of the quick things I want to give a shout out to is Trevor. We had him on months ago with Pocket Watch Press.
Yes.
We read his comic Helix Project, which I absolutely loved. I thought it was a fantastic comic book. He was supposed to join us to talk about his new project, Rise.
I got sick. I'm
Unfortunately, we had
sorry.
scheduling conflicts. Well, and he was in Europe, and there a lot of back and forth and stuff.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love what he's doing. If you want to check out any of his comics, go to Kickstarter. The new project Rise will be ending soon, but sometimes these Kickstarters they end up doing second kicks and just pay attention. Pocket Watch Press, if you're not following them on the socials, you should give them a chance. He's really making some cool stories. And as far as Nerd Initiative, this week, my comic book review was for a comic called Edenwood from Image Comics. If you're familiar with Noctera, this is by Tony S. Daniel, the same guy who does Noctera. And it is a dystopian, it's only 2 issues in. It's a dystopian future with like a supernatural time bending twist. I thought this one was phenomenal. I'm absolutely loving it. Obviously, supernatural gets me every time, but the fact that like it started out and it looked like just kids playing in a lake and you didn't know what was going on until they started saying random things and like the government is debating on whether or not they should work with the demons to like try to save America. And they're like,
Ooh, how did
why?
I miss
Like,
this story? What?
it's a great story. Again, only 2 issues in, so I'm looking forward to continuing it. But it's called Eden Wood, Eden Wood. So definitely recommend that one. And I mean, honestly, all my favorite comics seem to be from Image outside of Wolverine. The Ref, I did watch that this week.
Oh, I
Such a
haven't
good
seen that in a
Christmas
long
movie.
time.
I have it on DVD. That gets watched every year. We
What's
watched
a
it early this
DVD?
year. I know. Well, you have to pay to watch The Ref.
You
You
do,
could only
yeah.
rent or buy it. And
Unless you have Plex.
well, I have a DVD player, so
Me
that
too. It's
only I
called a
feel like it's
PlayStation 5.
pulled out. I think I bought mine at for like $20 at Walmart like years ago. But it only gets pulled out really for Christmas or when we have to watch some old Marvel movie for a
Whoa,
podcast.
whoa, pump the brakes on the old, man.
I mean, in the words of my kids now, those movies are
Oh
vintage
my
because they're over
God. I
20
was
years
at
old.
work yesterday and somebody was like, wow, you're old enough to remember when Vine first started. And I was like, first of all, what the fuck, man? Like, you didn't have to. I'm only 30. Like, come on. Like, I didn't need to be attacked. And then it didn't
I
bother me at the
remember
time.
Vine came
And then
out.
I'm just sitting there on the couch at night and I'm like, bro, they really told me I was old by referencing Vine, which Vine really only came out in like 2010.
It was out for like 5 minutes. I remember my dad
Yeah.
telling me
It
to
was
get on
TikTok
Vine.
before it was TikTok.
Right, but it was only like 30-second clips or something.
Yeah. But like,
Yeah.
that's the benchmark for old? Come on, man.
The kids these days are brutal. I
They
mean,
are
like I live with
ruthless.
Brielle is just so mean. She always says the meanest things.
Like it's not even like they I don't know if they know it or not, but like it's
I think they
subtle.
think they're funny.
And it's just like, dude, what the hell? Like since when does knowing what Vine is make you old?
I
Now,
know.
if
They're
you had
comparing it to
mentioned
like
like,
8 tracks or something.
yeah, if you had mentioned like AIM or something, then yeah, okay. Yes,
Or
I'm old.
MySpace.
But Vine was like 2010. All right. Uh because I also mentioned like joining the military, and they're like, wow, you joined so long ago. That was like when Vine was a thing too. And that's what the context of the conversation was. And I was like, what?
How do they even know
Like,
what it is if they didn't have it?
I don't know. But apparently I'm old enough to be in a museum.
Hmm. I mean, everything's old enough to be in a museum.
Just yeah. But like, dang.
Oh, what?
Anyways.
Okay, so when we were in Nashville, actually, before we met up with you, like Josh dropped me off at Country Hall or Country Music Hall of Fame by myself, and I'm like wandering around, and then I get to some stuff. I think it was Florida Georgia Line, and they literally had a CD case like that you put
What?
all your CDs in that you keep. I'm like, I still have one of those in my car because I still have a CD player.
That
My car's
hurts.
2018. I have a CD player, and I was like, why is this in a museum? That one
Dang.
did hurt.
Dang. I had so many of like mixes, like mix one, mix two, and then you'd make one for like when your crush got in the car, if they did, or to give to somebody. And like I was on, LimeWire downloading viruses and music, and you never know
In my
what you were
college
getting.
dorm. Yeah.
Just kids don't know, man. They don't
Those
know.
mixes though, like we'll sometimes put them on for like a car trip with like friends like driving down south or something. And they're the best mixes. The only problem is they all skip now. So
Oh
put in
yeah.
like Lauren's mix and it's like gushy stuff from Jay-Z.
You're
And then it's like,
vibing.
yeah, you got Uncle Al is in that. I mean, it's
I was
amazing.
watching something too, real quick before because we're off track. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
we're
but
going way off
I saw
tangent.
like the old 2004, and it was Linkin Park and Jay Z doing their concert, and I had that CD, and it like to me, I was like, music peaked at this moment because it was Jay Z and Linkin Park, and this opened up a whole
Mm.
new playbook of music. And then nobody really recognizes either of those. Like they know Jay Z, but they're not messing with Jay Z like we mess with Jay Z because he doesn't really make music anymore. And it's
Josh loves Jay-Z. Josh could teach a class like it was Shakespeare, but with Jay-Z, because he will ask me, do you know what that means, what he just said? And I'm like, no. And then he'll be like, well, cocaine costs this much, and he's translating it to that, and that's what he's saying. And I'm like, what did you
I ain't
just
past the bar, but I know a little bit enough that you can't legally search my shit.
so Lexi texted me and a few friends today because everybody's on Spotify doing all their things
Yeah,
or whatever,
Spotify
and she
Wrapped.
found a playlist that is called Club Hits If You're 40. It's like
No, don't
Nelly
do
Ride With
this.
Me, Fat Joe,
Oh
What's
my god.
Love. I'm like,
What?
this looks like a fantastic
Okay, but all
playlist.
of those like legit slapped back in like those were all
100%.
high school dances, all that stuff. Like prom night was featuring a lot of that stuff, or it's
Motown
getting hot in
Philly back
here.
again. Oh,
619. Damn, you fine.
we
Baby,
were
let me
at
give it to you one
Peaches
more
and
time.
Cream. Because I know that I'm a fiend. Or yeah, drop
Wow.
it like it's hot.
My
Okay.
God.
All right, let's go back to what we've been reading or watching. I finally watched Blue Beetle. Um, I liked it. I did not love it. I thought it was
Oh,
cute. I thought it was wholesome. I thought it was a good family movie for like a younger
it
generation
was
kind of
Iron
thing.
Man for the DC,
I didn't, but he was not Iron Man at all.
but
I
it
get what
was
you're
very
saying
much
as
Iron
far
Man
as
for DC.
what, but it's like Iron Man Junior version because it was all about family. It was very sweet. It's almost in the realm, I think, of like Shazam, how Shazam is more a family movie than like, I think it's good we're venturing away from just dark DC. But
I don't know. This one got pretty dark considering they spoilers, 3, 2, 1. They killed his dad, man.
I mean, that's in every Disney movie, they kill a parent.
I know. Like I wasn't expecting him to die.
No,
Like
that was
I
really
thought he
sad.
was gonna get revived and then he was gonna go on his hero's journey from there, but he legit died. And I was like, oh wow, they did that.
Yeah.
But
That
at the
was
same
good. But like the grandma thing was comical,
oh,
and
grandma was good. Yeah, the family aspect was really fun.
yeah, it was fun. It was sweet. It was cute. I liked it. I didn't love it.
I thought they did a good job with the suit because it was also practical as well, which really
Oh, they did a
works.
fantastic
The
job.
suit
Yeah.
was awesome. I thought Zolo was amazing. Like I'm
Oh,
glad he's still a part of the DC universe because I think he's the right person for Jaime. Honestly,
yeah.
like, it was
No,
great.
I agree. No,
And
he did do a great job.
Susan Sarandon, Victoria Cord, like she hammed it up. And
Yeah, it's
it was
funny
Iron
seeing her
Man
as a
too,
villain.
in a sense that the main villain was basically Blue Beetle, but not, So
Justin Hammer.
yeah, I
Or,
mean,
well, the
yeah,
first one's the
yeah,
dude.
it's yeah. I like how we both for Obadiah Stane. Yes.
I wanted to say oh, but it was something in there like oh.
I was gonna say Warmonger, but wasn't that's
No,
not the right
that's
one.
war.
No.
You're. Are you
I
thinking
know.
of Killmonger and
It's
War Machine?
Ironmonger, I think. I don't know, man.
Oh yeah.
We're
Yes,
all
he's
good.
something
That's too
like
many
that.
heroes, too many villains. They're all the
I
same. I
know.
don't know what to tell you.
They're all
Everybody
blending
like
together.
has a villain problem, I guess. Too
When I
generic.
won MCU trivia at Deadwards, that was the one question I got wrong was Obadiah's name.
Ooh, how oh, for shame.
Because it's just a quick throwaway, real quick, that like Iron Man says real quick, like at the very end. We'll talk about Doctor Who in a minute. So the other thing that I've been watching, and this has been really fun watching, is Squid Game: The Challenge. So I did not watch Squid Game the show. However, a friend of mine is in the challenge and he got really far. So it's been really fun just watching him and getting to hear some of the behind the scenes stuff with him. Should I keep going? Okay.
Squid Game. So I saw something about the Squid Game where they apparently they couldn't have chapstick, so they used lubes from condoms.
Yeah, Chad confirmed that. He said that was the
What?
weirdest thing he saw. Yeah. I guess they
Oh
only
man.
gave them like a bag. So Chad's been doing, so I've mentioned Chad on here before. He's the one that when I was at his house for the Miami Heat game and the Soka commercial came on, and he's like, is anybody excited for this movie? And Gabrielle's like, Mom is. So he was one of my closest friends in law school. So he's basically been asking people questions and letting them, he's like, ask me whatever you want and I'll answer it. So he's been asking the question like, oh, did you get to keep your tracksuit? Which apparently they did not.
That's
Um,
lame.
what's the weirdest thing you got to see? And he said that girls using lube from condoms as chapstick. So they gave him bags of stuff and there wasn't chapstick in there. And like they would try to use like lotion. I guess it was very dry in there.
Yeah.
It was
And
filmed in
cold too.
London. Yeah. So yeah, it's been very
There's
surreal.
also, I guess the whole red light, green light took over 6 hours to film, and they would have to stand in
7
place for like
hours.
40
Yeah.
minutes at a time. Like they couldn't move; they were stuck for 40 minutes at a time.
They
Like
said
that's
that was
brutal.
brutal. Yeah. Well, and there was one girl that she stops and she's in a squat, and Brielle goes, why did she stop like that? And then the girl literally whispers to herself, why did I stop like this? And then she just gave up. And I'm thinking, like, she wasn't in the squat pose that long. And then when I found out, I'm like, God only knows how long she was in that pose.
Oh, I would without a doubt. There's no way I wouldn't be holding it. No.
Yeah. So it's been really cool watching Chad. He's number 286. Brielle's gotten all excited about it too. She's like, wait, Chad, your friend that has the dog? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, he's in this? And I was like, she's like, can I watch it? I'm like, I guess so. They're not really killing people in this one. Sure. So it's been cool. It's fun. But as soon as he got really far, but as soon as he got to a certain point, I was like, well, I don't care anymore. And I stopped watching. And I just Googled who was still in it.
That's fair. Is he still in it?
No, but he got really far.
Wow. That's still impressive. I mean, to get pretty far, I wouldn't have made it past the first game. Just if you want me to stand out there for how long?
Well,
These knees are not built for that.
what's funny is most of the show, like he's like in bed napping, and so people are even commenting on his Facebook. They're like, if anybody was going to win for napping, you win. And he's like, they're like, oh, we need Big Chad in our team, and they zoom into Chad, and he's like yawning in bed.
I'd be
It's
doing
really
the same.
funny.
Like, that's smart, man. Rest up in between. Rest up.
Yeah. No,
That's cool though.
he stayed in the shadows and kind of kept himself up, which is funny because that's not his personality. He's very outgoing. So it's funny to kind of see him like pull back and not really get
Right.
much screen time until later when he became, there was
Yeah.
one man, they were dropping people. I don't know how far they dropped. It's like I don't know any of the games because I didn't watch the show other than the first episode. And so like they were like having to jump on these panes and it's like,
Oh yeah, that was one of the final games.
yeah, and then you're watching these people legit drop and like it looks like they're dropping far. That was one question I actually wanted to ask him. But we watched it late last night, so I didn't want to text him like, how far are they dropping? You don't hear them yell. Like if I was suddenly like I've been
Well,
on
they
those
probably edited the
slides.
yells out. That's why.
That's what I'm wondering if they did. Because like have you ever been on the slides where they take the bottom out and you just go
Yeah,
like I
you're
scream
dropping.
every
It's like
time.
yeah, like Tower of Terror. You're just dropping kind of deal. So
Yeah. But like on yeah, it's
you just don't know
exactly.
how far, and you're into the dark abyss. So
Oy,
that's
the
cool.
slides
Yeah.
are the worst though. Yeah. And then the only thing I watched was Doctor Who,
Ooh, we'll
which
talk
was
about that one in a second because I did
fantastic.
too. I watched a Hallmark movie called Haul Out the Holly. It was a new one that came out. It was a sequel to last year. Shout out to Lacey Chalbert, and it was really goofy. This one, like when you turn on a Hallmark movie, you get a vibe right away of is this going to pass the vibe test? Like, is this going to be a good Hallmark movie in a sense of all the characters know exactly what kind of movie they are in. They ham it up. There's ones that you turn on and it's like way too serious. And it's like, that's not the vibe we're here for. It's those ones that
Right.
they're like, it's super goofy. They know what movie they're in. It's very self-aware. Those are the ones that I'm looking for. And this one
You want the
passed that vibe test.
campiness.
Yeah, like there's a certain cheerfulness and all that kind of about it. So I watched that one. I watched the first 3 episodes of the Godzilla Monarch series with Wyatt Russell, who plays a younger version of Kurt Russell's character. And
Oh,
you get,
that's I love when they do
yeah,
that. That's
it's
so
actually
cute.
super cool.
It's like
So
Ice Cube's kid did that, and then you had
yeah,
it's Tony Soprano's kid did that.
well, so like they're both in the show. They start with like it's like a time hop, and so
Susan
uh,
Sarandon's
they
daughter's done
pretty
that too.
much they start in the Skull Island, territory
Right.
time
We all
period,
know Skull
right? Like that
Island.
happened. And then that's where Wyatt Russell's at, and they're finding all these like things and discovering Monarch. And then it flashes forward to modern day, where these characters kind of find these files from Monarch that they shouldn't have found, and now Monarch is chasing them. So they find Kurt Russell, who is the same character, just in the future, or present day, I should say. It takes place just after the 2014 Godzilla. So they actually mention some cool things such as like Godzilla evacuation routes, and they show flashbacks to the San Francisco sequences. And also they do show like kaijus and some monsters. So that's something that they show periodically, which is really cool. But it's a good show, man. It's people who are complaining about no characters being in Godzilla movies. It's very character driven. So far, they've got bits and pieces of monsters, and you catch glimpses of Godzilla. So I'm sure they're building up to like an epic reveal of Godzilla, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. It's giving us that space because Godzilla versus Kong comes out in March of 2024. So I think this is going to build
Just like
and work
four
into
months
that.
away.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. I'm pretty excited for that movie. And aside
Amazing.
from that, I've of course watched Jingle All the Way. Look, that and
What?
Christmas
I am
Vacation,
shocked.
they got first watches of the season. Had
Christmas
to do it.
Vacation deserves it.
Yeah, can't even see the lines, can you, Russ? I don't know why that's the one that always comes to my head, but
Mine's always
that's
a hallelujah. Holy shit.
where's the Tylenol?
I
Bend
feel
over,
like
I'll show
yeah.
you.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I love this. The older I get, the better that movie gets because I just relate to Clark Griswold more.
Yeah, yeah. And then
I don't know if that's
I
good or
read,
bad.
I do too though. Like I was putting out my lights this weekend, and I was about to get on the roof and all that stuff, and it was rainy, and then I was like, you know what? Not yet. Not yet. I'm not doing all this. Not this year.
So we
Like
have the
it's
projection lights.
not doing that this year. So I didn't, but I do like very much love every aspect of Christmas. I've had the music playing in the car all the way to work, all the way home to work, all the time. I've had the Christmas movies on, the tree, all that good stuff. So that's important to me. And I read
I
Schlub
agree.
issue number 4
Oh, I read
from
that too.
we did a joint review with Marty from the Nerd Initiative on our bullpen. Kenny Porter, Ryan Stegman, John J. Hill, and of course Tyrell Cannon. This was my favorite issue of the run so far, personally.
Same. It
We
was the first time I really felt like we were connecting with Roger and that
Yes.
the two were connecting together.
Well, it's interesting,
And
right?
they
Like,
weren't even in a scene together.
yes, they like connected to the person or the body that they're in at the same time
Mm-hmm.
too. Like, you know, Cyrus saw what Roger goes through. Like, you got a glimpse of Roger's life and the way he
Oh, it's
probably
not
is
perfect.
because his
Yeah.
dad's a major dick. He's like, I bought your way through dental school. And he was just so awful. His family is awful.
Mm.
And so you do feel bad for Roger to see how he is so defeated by life. And then on the flip side, you
Feel bad for
see
Spirits.
Cyrus's, his home planet where his dad, I got some real like Lion King vibes of this whole place is gonna be
Oh my God,
yours.
100%. I might as well have said everything the light touches is our
Yes.
kingdom.
And that
Yeah.
had to have been on purpose, but
I almost mentioned that in the review, but I pulled it back.
I
I feel
did,
like
I thought so too. I was gonna do the same thing.
I've already referenced Lion King in another one of the actually I think in another one of the schlub ones I referenced the Lion King, or maybe it was the alternates. But I've referenced the Lion King and Supernatural in quite a lot of my reviews. So I'm like, let me pull it back.
I thought about doing it too, which is funny. But then, of course, his sister has some more things at play. And so it's just, you connected with the characters more. You got some depth, very character driven this episode was. And then, of course, Worm is looking for his body back. So now you're like,
Dun, dun,
oh,
dun.
what's his real body then? This is interesting. Like, there's something there. And it
I thought
pulls
he was
you
trying to
in.
switch bodies with Cirrus. He wanted Cirrus's body.
Yeah, but he said, "Give me my body back." I thought, which kind of is like, wait a second. Okay, interesting. So
Well, I
maybe
didn't
I
even read
misread it.
that much into it.
I
Maybe I
might have
did.
misread it. I don't know. I'll have to
Maybe I
reread
didn't
it,
read
but
enough into it.
it's a very good comic book run. 4 issues in, fantastic. This is by far my favorite issue. And the last thing that I read was the Howard the Duck 50th anniversary special that came out. We have writers such as Chip Zdarsky. We've got Joe Quinones. We've got our friend Daniel Kibblesmith, and lots of good. Ian Herring is on the art. Annie Wu is on the art. Like, there's a lot of good
Ian
artists. It's
Herring. I know that name.
Yeah. There's three different stories kind of built in. Like, Daniel Kibblesmith is essentially like President Howard the Duck, and then we got like a Guardians of the Galaxy Howard the Duck. Then we got Howard the Duck if he's hanging out at the X-Men mansion, and it's very tongue in cheek. It's very funny. It's very cool. Doesn't take itself seriously as it should because it's Howard the Duck. It's a good little 50th anniversary comic book. So check that out. That's what I've been reading. That was on Nerd Initiative. Check our reviews every Wednesday at starting at 9 a.m. on nerdinitiative.com. Also, go ahead and vote for the 2023 Cheersies Awards, where we have lots of good people. Jeff Johns and Ghost Machine is up. We've got Alan Dunford's up for an award. David Pepose is up. Stephanie Phillips. Like, we've got tons of great people up for awards on this. So go check that out. Again, you can do it through nerdinitiative.com. Now, let's get some Doctor Who real quick. We both watched the Doctor Who is, special with Donna's back, David Tennant is back, and we get the Meep, which I was
Oh my
like, this is the
gosh.
cutest thing on earth. And then the Meep went bad, and I was like, fuck the Meep, kill the Meep.
So did you see the whole story was based on a comic book? And what I thought was
No,
really cool. What? It wasn't.
no, I'm saying I did not know this. I'm sorry.
Oh. Oh, my bad. So the story was actually based on a comic book, and Dan Slott, who, if that name sounds familiar, he's a very popular comic book creator, lots of Spider-Man stuff. He's even done Doctor Who stuff and way more. And he commented that the episode, when they showed that it was who it was written by, you see Russell T Davies, which a lot of people are very excited he's back. And they actually gave a shout out to Pat Mills and Dave Gibbons, who are the ones that wrote the comic that the story is based off of. And in
Oh,
that
that's so cool.
comic, you meet the Meep, and the Meep does turn out to be evil. But what they did in the comic was the audience knew the Meep was evil before the Doctor knew. So, and I guess there were theories that they were thinking about doing that in the show, and then they didn't. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't, because I really enjoyed the reveal.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, geez, this new electronic screwdriver is like really fancy.
Oh,
It can
they
even
built
block
like
blaster shots in the
that's
car.
cool.
But then he explained that that wasn't what was happening, that their guns were set to tase or
Well,
to
but
tase them, not to
still,
kill
his
them.
electric screwdriver was able to
Oh
build
my God, did a
those.
force field?
Yeah, that's a cool addition.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
Oh,
cool.
that's a
Some
hell of
people
a cool
complained, like,
addition.
since when can sonic screwdrivers do that? I'm like, dude,
They
I think
improve
that's a
every
cool addition.
time. Every time he regenerates, it seems like the screwdriver improves. One day, maybe it'll be able to work on wood. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was cool.
No, I really liked it. I loved how just they brought back Donna. I loved getting to meet like Donna's family. The husband was a little cheesy. I'm not gonna lie. He was a little
Yeah,
too just like, I'm just here to support my girls, hardy har har.
but
Like,
they're kind of like apologizing to Donna in a way as well. But I thought something really cool was, their daughter. I thought that was a cool addition. And like I saw another thing that people were like, oh, Doctor Who's gone woke. I'm like, listen
Doctor
here,
Who's always been
motherfucker.
woke.
Doctor Who in its entire 60-year run has always been quote unquote what you define as woke. Like this is nothing new. Doctor Who
No.
is Doctor Who, like the character, whether it's a he, she, whatever they regenerate into, like loves everybody. Doctor Who has always been very like that's
I mean,
what's
come on,
special
look at
about this.
Captain Jack.
Yeah, come on. Captain Jack was trying to fuck anything that moved.
Right, the
Like, come on,
horniest
man.
guy in the galaxies.
And, like, come on, dude. So, like, Doctor Who's always been very
John
progressive.
Barrowman
And
and
so
Captain Jack.
clearly
Um,
not good.
One thing I will say about that, at first I was confused. I didn't know that she was trans. So when the boys were making comments, and I'm like, what are they even talking about? Who are they talking about? They're not talking to her.
She
So
looked
that was
great.
yeah, it confused me at first, and then I picked up on what was going on when the grandmother was like, was that the right? Then I was like, oh, that's what's going on. But what I thought was really cool about it is a lot of people who have issues with that stuff, they'll be like, well, it wasn't relevant to the story. This was.
It was
They made like
100%.
the doctor is not a he is not a she. Like the doctor is both a man and a woman. And I thought like this was completely relevant to the story, and it made complete sense. And I thought that that was really cool when they tied it in. And I was wondering how are they going to save Donna, because like you knew it could, like they were going to have to explain it. And that's one of the fun things about Doctor Who is like they always, I don't want to say take the easy way out. It's like in Supernatural no one dies, in Marvel no one dies, in DC no one dies. And you get a similar bit of that in Doctor Who too, but they
To a
always
degree,
have
yeah.
such a fun way of explaining it. And so I thought that that was cool.
I thought it was really sad about how they kept mentioning her grandfather. Like, that was
Yeah.
sad.
I think he's in one of them though. I think he filmed it before he passed.
I was going to say, because I thought they were very, like, alluding to keeping him alive, but I knew he passed away.
Yeah.
So if they
I,
somehow oh man, that would break
I
my
did
heart.
see a clip of David Tennant pushing him in a wheelchair. So
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
what
gonna
a,
cry.
yeah, it's going to be a great scene. And I don't know when we're getting Neil Patrick Harris, so I'm very excited.
I totally forgot he was even going to be. Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
he's
two
going to be in
more.
two
We
or
got two
three. I
more,
don't know
man.
which. I'm already
Also,
like sad that it's only 3 episodes.
I know. Well, David Tennant looked great. Like he really looked great in this.
Dude,
You
and
could
they're both in
tell,
there. He's 2 years younger than the first Doctor was when he filmed Doctor Who.
which is just
How
again,
crazy is
what
that?
was in the we don't smoke indoor, like all those like health things we talked about before, but something that like is really fun about David Tennant is the amount that he loves this character in this franchise, it just shows, and how much fun he's having. Like part of me feels like, especially the initial stuff, like when he ran into the TARDIS for the first time, like I feel like that was legit David Tennant being like,
Yeah,
wow,
he
look what
probably
they
wasn't even
did.
acting. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just love that man so much.
I like
And
the older homie TARDISes though. I'm not gonna lie. I
this
don't
one is
like when
very
they make them
hospital
all.
feeling with like how bright it is. It's too
Yeah.
clean looking. So I will
Although
agree with that.
David Tennant's number 10 TARDIS was filthy. I do remember that.
It was. So like me being a clean freak, it's got to be in between. But I do hope.
Hey, you want it to be homey, but you don't want it to be
Yeah.
dirty.
I wonder if they're going to bring everybody back for the 60th anniversary. Like, I wonder if we're going to get Eccleston, who hasn't really cared about the character since he did it, and Smith, and whoever has played the
I
Doctor.
like that he
that's still
mentioned
alive.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why do I still have this face? I don't know, but I
Right.
fucking love it.
But I like when he was talking to the one girl that was in the wheelchair, where she's like, "You're not supposed to know your future." He's like, "No, that's my," like she thought he was 10.
Yeah.
So is he now 10 and 14, and the new guy is going to be 15, or is the new guy 14?
I think he's still technically 13.
Well, no, Jodie's 13.
Yeah. Well, I think he's still 13. He's just in that face, and he's going to regenerate into 14.
Okay, so the new guy is going to be 14.
I think.
Because I saw something where they were calling him 14, and I was like, wait, no, he can't be 10 and 14. This is too much to math.
I think he's still 13 because I haven't been introduced to 14. And I think this is That's what I think is going on, because he's like, why am I still in this face? Like, how
Yeah,
did I
why
get
did this
back to
face
this
come back?
face? So then it wouldn't be
Why did
14.
this face return?
That's what I'm saying. So he wouldn't be 14 because he's recognized,
That's
like,
what I
this is
thought.
where I
I feel
was
like he should
before.
stay at 10,
Yeah.
but he was so sad to see 10 go, and it was because of Wilford. So I
God,
can't imagine how excited he would be to see 10
I don't
back.
want to go. That lives rent free
Yeah.
in my head. Rent free in
I
my
and I
head.
think didn't he ad lib that?
Yeah. It's because he didn't want to stop playing the character. And
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna. All right.
So one last thing I will say about Dan Slott, he called using the comic book creators' names, he called that a classy move, and he said he wishes that was the norm, which I think would be really cool. Like
It should, yeah.
as fans like us, we're often like, oh, this Hawkeye run is based on this comic book run, but the average person doesn't know that and they don't really give them credit. And he also, Dan Slott said he was going to pretend it was a nod to him. He doesn't know what specifically was, but at the beginning, when David Tennant's talking to the audience and he says, Once Upon a Time Lord, that is actually the name of a comic book run that Dan Slott wrote. And he goes,
That's
I'm going to
awesome.
pretend this was,
It should. Maybe it
intentional.
was. Who
Yeah.
knows?
And
Anyways,
that's
yeah. Go watch it. Let us know your thoughts. Let's roll with some news. First things first, Dave Filoni has become the chief creative officer at Lucasfilm. Kind of a made up position for him, but it's a big one, which means it looks like he's going to be running the film side of things. Like, I know we're already working on the Rey trilogy, and I know he's working on like his film too, and whatever's happening with Ahsoka.
the
So it
Mandalorian
seems
film.
like, yeah, speaking of Star Wars, real quick, I was on Google, and Google has like these ads, which is based off of like things you're interested in, or not even ads, they're articles. And somebody, I don't even remember who it was because I wasn't giving them the time of day, was Rosario Dawson reacts to her replacement of Ahsoka, like basically saying
What?
like she got replaced as Ahsoka, and they were I looked in the
Rosario
article.
Dawson or Ashley Eckstein?
No, it was Rosario Dawson. They're trying to
She's
say that
getting
the girl who
replaced?
played her, the little girl version, was replacing
Replaced
Rosario
her?
Dawson. Yeah. It was the worst fucking journalism. It's like, you absolutely are just grasping at straws, dude, because she didn't get replaced. If they choose to do like a live action Clone War show, then yeah, that's going to be a young version of Ahsoka. But we still have this version of Ahsoka played by Rosario Dawson in live action that still has a whole entire story to be told. So
Yeah. And you
I
see
don't know.
her hugging with Ashley Eckstein and this
Yeah.
young Gamora, whose name I don't know.
Journalism these days,
But
it's a farce. What's
yeah,
not a farce is
fake
Timothy
news.
Oliphant is joining the Hulu series, the Alien Hulu series. I eh. I love Timothy Oliphant. I just on this series because the last few Alien movies to come out, like Prometheus and stuff, were just bad. So
I've only seen the
Thanksgiving
first one.
2 is in the works, set to premiere by Eli Roth in 2025. Now,
Oh,
Thanksgiving
you
1 is
said they
worth
set it up
watching.
for a
They
second
did.
one.
They did.
Nice.
And Thanksgiving is a very good horror movie. Everybody should go watch it.
I'll wait till next year now. It's too late for
No.
me this year.
Come on, man.
The
Whatever.
turkeys of Publix programs are back up in the shelf
Whatever.
in the somewhere.
Now, the 2023 Doctor Who Christmas special titled The Church on Ruby Road. That's the title we finally got released. I don't know anything more than that, other than the special follows a baby who was abandoned in the snow long ago on Christmas Eve. Today, Ruby Sunday meets the Doctor, stolen babies, goblins, and perhaps the secret of her birth. I didn't
Stolen
see.
babies and goblins. Isn't that like the labyrinth?
Sounds like it. The Babe. And some other news, some things coming out. Sonic will be coming out December 20th, 2024. Sonic 3. I think these movies are very good. James Marsden, excuse me. He does a fantastic job. And
Good in everything he's in.
yeah, no, these movies are awesome. Go watch the Sonic movies because they have no right being as good as they are. And Jim Carrey actually feels like Jim Carrey of old a little bit in them. And so he's Dr. Eggman, all that stuff. He's only in the first one, but I can't spoil any more than that if you haven't seen it. And last but not least, the Eras Tour will be premiering on a streaming service yet to be named December 13th in honor of Taylor Swift's birthday. And lots of breweries around me, like Taylor Swift trivia was last night at Precarious. And there's going to be a Taylor Swift night at Aleworks up the road from my house in December 16th. So I think I'm going to go to that.
I'm going to Ian's birthday party, which is Taylor Swift themed.
God, that's so cool.
He said I'm allowed to dress like Dean Winchester, though, and I don't have to dress like Taylor Swift because I don't listen to her music.
I didn't get invited. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for nothing.
His wife planned it. I'll tell Marge you're mad.
Here's some news. Ian and I were friends once
Dun
upon a
dun
time.
dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Anyways, what news do you have?
So rumors are coming out that we are getting another season of She-Hulk that will run for 6 episodes on Disney
Ah,
Plus.
yeah.
They're saying this is coming from good sources, but until Disney Plus announces it, to me, it's a rumor. Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio are teaming up together for the next Karate Kid movie, but they are looking for the next Karate Kid to star in said movie.
I'm gonna send my son up for this one.
Do it. Beetlejuice 2 has wrapped filming. I'm hoping they release that at Halloween time next year. I know Beetlejuice isn't like a Halloween movie, but
No, it kind of
it
feels like
is.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, we added Beetlejuice to our Halloween playlist.
Don't
Braille
say it again. He'll
messed up
appear.
my Braille messed up my Spotify rap stuff because she listens to too much Beetlejuice on my Spotify.
That's random.
Yeah, well, because from the Broadway, ever since we saw Beetlejuice on Broadway,
Yeah.
she's like big on the songs, and now that she's in theater and all that.
Grease Broadway is one that dominates my Spotify because of my daughter.
There you go. A number one though was still Wayward Son for me.
Oh.
And the number one band was still Blink, so it still had some accuracy there. So I read this. I don't know how I feel about this, and I don't know if this is definitely going to happen, but The Boys Mexico spinoff is in the works, and apparently Diego Luna will be part of it from Andor. He'll be part of it behind the scenes and on it. I love The Boys so much, and I think that The Boys is perfect. I like Gen V. I didn't love it as much as The Boys. But I don't want them. I don't know that I need a huge universe for this.
Well, there are rumors floating that season 4 sets up the final season of The Boys, which would be season 5. There are rumors, and there are some verified leaks that have come out about certain things that happen in The Boys. So tread lightly out there.
Like, la, la, la.
Yeah, no, tread lightly out there. But rumors are saying that it looks like they're getting ready to end The Boys. So it doesn't surprise me that they're going to continue with Gen V and possibly another spinoff.
Right. I mean, they're so far off from the comics that, like, they don't need to stay true to it by any means.
Right.
I will say, rewatching it, though, I really loved what they've done with Homelander, where they've created this dual personality kind of thing. I think that was a great nod to the comics that, again, if anybody still wants to read them, I don't want to ruin the ending of who and what Homelander actually is, but he's conflicted, and there is there are times where you start to agree with Homelander, but we'll do a wrap-up topic of the first 3 seasons before season 4 comes out and talk comic book stuff and all that fun stuff. But my only other news are some MegaCon guests. So we got Joseph Quinn, who is Eddie from Stranger Things. And we also got William Shatner's coming back, Giancarlo Esposito, Stephen Amell, Randy Quaid, Iman Esfandi, which he was in Ahsoka. He played Ezra Bridger. We got a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, somebody from Star Trek. And we got Ethan Suplee, who is in My Name is Earl, but he's also in Mallrats. And he's the one that calls out, looks at
idiot.
Shannon Doherty.
It's not a sailboat. It's not a schooner. It's a sailboat.
It's a sailboat.
A sailboat is a schooner, idiot.
And then he looks at Brenda Wall. She looks at Shannon Doherty and goes, Brenda. And that was so fun. And she's going to be there. So we need one more person, and then you can have a Mallrats panel.
She just recently came out and said that the stage 4 cancer she has spread to her bones.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So she probably won't be there.
I hope she does.
That's terrible.
Man. Modern medicine can do wonderful things, but
that sounds painful.
He's not in good shape. And you hate to see that. I mean, that's really sad, especially because she's done Charmed. She's been around. She's been in a lot of great things.
All the Charmed people are going to be in there.
Yeah, it sucks to see. So let's hope she gets better and that she is there.
She's smoking some weed. That's going to be painful.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Christmas monsters and Christmas beer. I'm almost out of beer. Do I want another one?
Me too.
Are you getting another one?
I am.
All right. Pause.
Fair.
Welcome back, everybody. Like I said, we're talking Christmas monsters, and we got some Christmas beer school, throwing it back to our old days of Hopsnews. Now, first things first, we have been droning on this episode. This is a longer episode. And so, of course, we had to get a refill in our glasses, and I am drinking from Raleigh Brewing Company, their Holiday Bash Spiced Winter Warmer, 12 ounces of pure malty spiced bliss. It comes at 6.6%. Holiday Bash combines a winter warmer with traditional fall spices to create a festive ale that can be enjoyed at any bash, no matter the holiday. This deeply complex beer has notes of pumpkin pie, mulled cider, hazelnuts, toast, sugar, cookies,
Ooh,
and chocolate. Now, this beer is actually
there's a
really good,
lot going
man.
on there.
There is. It fits in my little holiday glass here. It's really good. Honestly, it's the perfect winter beer. When I think of winter lagers, winter stouts, winter whatevers, I think of all the different flavors because for whatever reason, this time of year really brings out a lot of spice flavors of various kinds. And this one hints on all. I mean, it's got chocolate, pumpkin, all that kind of stuff. And the pumpkin's not overly, but it blends. I get a lot of the hazelnut and chocolate in this on the back end, especially the warmer it gets. And it's delicious, man. Raleigh Brewing Company, they're actually set. They have their distribution facility just got finished. So be on the lookout because I don't know where they're all going to be distributing to. I just happen to go down to Raleigh pretty often. So I picked this up on Thanksgiving, brought some back. That's what I got. What did you open?
I like mulled. When you said mulled, like I was like the hot
Mm.
mulled wine at
Yeah.
Christmas time.
It's
Yeah.
Christmas market season where there's mulled wine.
Okay, see, that's not a thing down here. So when we did a
Oh,
New
they got
York,
one 10 minutes from my house in the old town
oh,
Williamsburg. It's a
that's
vibe,
awesome.
dude.
So I went to one in Philadelphia years ago. Brielle was like a baby, and like Josh was bored out of his mind because he doesn't care about Christmas or malt. But I still have the mug they gave it, and I was like the highlight of my Philadelphia trip was having the mulled wine at the Christmas market. I opened a Sierra Nevada Celebration Fresh Hop IPA. This is a classic. Obviously, any IPA by Sierra Nevada is, if you like West Coast IPAs, they're always great. I mean, they're always great go tos. And honestly, this is like the only go to nationally distributed Christmas IPA that you can now find. I know Anchor wasn't an IPA, but that one's gone anyways. And it was a lighter beer. And then you had a New Belgium Accumulation, was one of my favorite white
Yeah,
IPAs.
you
And
don't
then they
find that
turned that into
anymore.
a hazy. And then, yeah, I didn't even find it last year. So this is like the only one
I haven't
left.
picked any
And
of this up yet. I saw it, but I haven't picked it up. I saw Costco has a 24 pack, and I was like, I don't need a 24 pack because it's like I have all
I don't
this
know. I
delicious
probably should
beer in my
have.
fridge. Like I'm not hosting a party where enough people are going to drink. Otherwise, I
I,
would buy that.
I swung by Total Wine the other day solely to get a 6 pack of
Ooh,
this.
I do need to go to Total Wine. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow.
I did get some others. And Micah, if you're listening, I did get you the Wolverine beer. I found another one.
Oh, awesome. I need
Josh
to
is
meet up
like,
with him
why did you buy that Wolverine beer again? For one, the Wolverine beer was delicious,
It was
but
really good, yes. It's up there with my Marvel Legos, actually. And Carrie's like, don't think you're keeping
that's
that can
awesome.
there. And I was like, well, I left it there. And she hasn't noticed. Day 17 of it blended in with the Legos. And now she's
I
going to
kept my
listen to this
can.
because she secretly listens to the pod sometimes. And now it's going to go
She
missing one day.
secretly listens.
It's going to go
You mean
missing
she
one day.
secretly supports us?
She does.
Josh, I
She
don't think has
does.
ever listened to an episode.
No, she's supported all of the
She's
bullshit that I do over here.
into
But
this stuff, unlike Josh.
yeah, but I'm gonna walk in one day and the can will be gone, and you'll know because I'll text you immediately.
I'll text you.
The
I
fucking
did.
can is gone, and Carrie, you'll be like, "Yeah, I did that a week ago." Shows how much you pay attention. You're like, "God damn it, you're right."
Well, I do have my can, and it's next to the little bobblehead you sent me.
Oh yeah,
But but Wolverine's also that's my favorite.
bub.
Exactly, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have it in a glass to mouth glass as well. But I got
Yes,
Jackie. I know you got your Rudolph, so
I
I got my
do.
Jack
My glass to
Skellington.
mouth Rudolph. Busch Gardens, by the way, has the rights to the Rudolph, so I want to get a stuffed Bumble, and I love Rudolph, man. It's unhinged, and yeah, it's fun. Let's get into monsters. Speaking of Bumble, last year we did do a whole episode on Krampus,
Oh, he
so
just had a toothache.
that's true. He did, and that
Sorry,
stupid elf want to be a dentist for some reason because he knows where the money's at.
his name's Hermie.
Yes. But we did Krampus last year. We won't be covering Krampus. So if you want to check that episode out, I will be uploading all of our Christmas
That one's
specials
there,
of the past. So that one is there. The rest are going to be uploaded, like our Die Hard one, which is like one of our very first holiday episodes. And
which
we'll
it
be
is a
uploading
Christmas movie,
those.
Mom.
It is. It's got
My
Santa,
mom says
Christmas
it's not.
party, Christmas Eve. Dude,
I
they're
don't
at a
know what part of
Christmas
it's
party.
not
It's
a
got
Christmas
Christmas
movie.
music. I saw somebody on Twitter today. It
Christmas
was like,
Eve.
Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. I was like, it's
It's probably
literally
my mom.
Christmas Eve at a
First on
Christmas
Twitter.
party, and there's Christmas music, and the man has ho ho ho. Now I have a gun. Like ho
Machine
ho
gun.
ho. What part of this isn't Christmas? God dang it! It's
And he's
John
wearing a
McClane
Santa
has a
hat.
Santa hat. Yep.
We put the Santa. Didn't he put the Santa hat on the bad guy?
They have an advent calendar of
Of
Hans Gruber
Nakatomi
falling from the
Tower.
Nakatomi Tower. Doesn't get much more Christmas than that, folks.
I need that. I need that advent
I do
calendar.
too.
Oh, Well, this isn't a reminder to anybody because this isn't a live episode, but a reminder to you. Make sure your elves bring your advent calendars tomorrow. It's a reminder to
My
myself.
elves are coming tomorrow. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Now, diving into Christmas monsters. This first one comes from a little country called Iceland. It is the Icelandic Christmas monster of Grilla. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right because I suck at names. It is
I don't
Gryla.
either.
This is the Santas of Iceland are 13 filthy trolls who are led by their mother, Grilla, a child-eating giant. Interesting. That's those are the Santas, huh? Like, I always love like Nordic tales because they always involve
Yeah.
trolls of sorts and they're very like grotesque and geared around killing children.
So what's interesting is when I was doing the research for this, and you get into a little bit of why all of the Christmas monsters I found were all European. Like I even searched like South America Christmas monster, and all I found were
That is
regular
interesting. Yeah.
cryptids and monsters. I didn't find anything holiday related. So if anybody knows of any that I just didn't come across, definitely let us know. I can even, you give a specific name. I'll do a little deep dive before Christmas. But
You'll get
it really
shouted
just
out
seems
next week
like
on the pod.
just the Europeans apparently want to terrorize children at Christmas time.
Well, can't say I blame them. That's all I gotta say.
Norway
As a
has a fun
parent,
little elf. I forget what his name is, but he's my
ooh,
favorite one at
he's an
Epcot to
angry
learn.
elf.
No, he's not the Norway one. Maybe this one.
Well, throughout most of the year, these bizarro Santas called
Call me an
Yule
elf one more
Lads are
time.
believed to be, it's a 20th anniversary. We should do that episode. Are believed
Holy
to
shit.
be hiding in the mountains or in a lava fortress. Then, why isn't this a Disney movie yet? I wonder. I feel like this is a Disney movie, like a Pixar one waiting to happen.
Right? I did search movies. There are a lot of low budget, like 4 out of 10 star
Of course, there are.
movies with this, but some of them are actually like based in Iceland. So
Huh.
give them time. We're getting more Christmas horror. Give them time.
I have all these good ideas. I just need to start pitching and getting to the right. Anyways, from December 11th to Christmas Eve, one by one, they leave to engage in 13 days of mischief. Each has a different antic, ranging from mischievous to horrifying, which they indulge in all over Iceland throughout the season. One would torment sheep, random. Another would drink all of the milk in the house. Wow. Get real crazy there, bud.
Maybe he's lactose intolerant, so maybe that
True.
was worse than it seems.
I'm going to steal your milk. Another stole
And
pots
steal
and
everyone's
pans.
left shoe.
Now,
What movie is that from?
oh, yeah, that's one of the. That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
it's
Like,
from Stitch. It's Lilo
it's
and Stitch.
minor inconveniences. Another steals pots and pans, which as a parent, I thought you were going after the kids. Why are you punishing me? All right. And pans aren't cheap. Back then, they're also not cheap now.
I guess that's true.
Another licks spoons, one licks bowls, and another slams doors. Now, there was one who stole candles at a time that the sun only shines for 4 hours a day.
That
Now,
one sounds
that
like a
one,
dick.
again, you're punishing the parents. Like, what? That you're going after the kids, man.
Well, I
I
mean,
love
what?
my candles.
Yeah. Well, that's because your candles are scented. I don't think theirs were
They're
scented.
Christmassy scented. But again,
So
like
are
as a parent,
mine.
how am I supposed to get through the house? Like, what did I do to you, troll? I don't know. Today, these Yule lads look more like friendly Santas than deformed trolls, and they leave treats instead of pranks. However, their mom has not been Disneyfied yet. We just talked about this. Grilla is one of the most evil figures in Icelandic folklore, and also in horror stories about her are still told to children during the holiday season. Throughout the year, it is said that she collects whispers about children around the island misbehaving, and when winter sets in, she sets out to gather them. Her appetite for the flesh of the naughty youths is insatiable, and each and every year, she finds no shortage of her favorite crop. Collecting them up in her sack, she then cooks them in a pot, turns them into a giant stew. Potatoes, you boil them, you mash them, you stick them in a stew. My Lord of the Rings fans will get that. And this will sustain her until next winter. In addition to her now friendly kids, she has an evil child eating cat called the Christmas cat, or I don't know how to pronounce this,
I
the
was gonna say, are you gonna go for it?
Yolacatorian.
Well, old. It probably starts old because the J is usually
ah,
silent in
that's why I was thinking
Scandinavian
like
stuff. Like
yo
it's
or
Glally Yule is Merry Christmas in Danish. It's
Jolakoo
probably like Jokenterren, something like that.
Tturnn. Guys, I don't know. All
I'm going
right.
with you. I'm going with Jokenterren. So I'm
Yes.
going. I brought out my Danish heritage.
Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout sale.
Everything was a big howler in July.
Oh, the cat doesn't go after just naughty kids, however. It will also eat kids who did not get new clothes for Christmas. Grila's husband is apparently not mean, but is believed that he is just terrified after what she did to her previous husbands, which, if it is to be believed, she ate them as well. My God, this sounds like so many people out there's ex-wives right now, doesn't it? Men, I get you. Can't relate to you, first of all, but yeah, this is probably just every woman from West Virginia, I believe. They're all ugly, mean trolls. Like,
Whoa. I answered a phone call from my daughter and I got come back. Every woman is a mean, ugly troll.
I said every
What
woman in
did
West
I
Virginia.
miss?
West Virginia. They're all
Damn. What did
ugly, mean
West
trolls.
Virginia do to you?
And Ohio. Oh, how much time do you got? And what do you charge an hour for therapy? Anyways, while this seems like a bunch of terrible and traumatizing stories to tell children, back in the day, they kind of served a purpose. Iceland was cold. It's also dark for months out of the year. And before things like electricity, going outside in the winter could result in death, whether by cold or polar bears. Maybe. I don't know if
That'd be
they
a
have polar
terrible
bears
way
in
to go.
Iceland, but I know they have them in Greenland. So one way to make sure no kids wandered
Well,
off.
I researched this in the guide to Iceland. So
Ooh.
that's where it came from.
Well, one way to prevent them from wandering away was to warn them of a child eating troll and of course her child eating cat. As far as the new clothes, it's believed that was encouragement to get all their winter chores, like making new clothes, done before the dark months began. Grilla was outlawed as a scare tactic for kids in the 18th century, which is when naughty kids started getting rotten potatoes in their shoes instead of being threatened with getting eaten. Ah, just love I just love folk tales like this. It's so much fun. There's just who started this rumor? That's what I want to know.
Drunk person.
Like, I would love to just, if I had a time machine, some people would kill baby Hitler. Me, I'm going back in time to like figure out what happened with Jesus between like his 13th birthday and his 30th birthday, because they never covered that time period. And then I'm also going to figure out like who invented these off the wall stories of trolls and leprechauns and shit.
I feel like I can answer all these questions. So between 13 and 30 with Jesus, Family Guy covered that. He was fighting with Joseph and going, "You're
Oh,
not my
I
real
thought he
dad."
switched bodies with Jennifer Garner in her teenage self. My bad.
Oh, because you're 13 going on 30. That was clever.
He fell in
Well,
love
I
with Mark
mean,
Ruffalo. What can I say? I
definitely
would too.
extreme measures to, I guess, keep your child safe. I like how we've now switched it to like this elf, or I'm going to call Santa and you're not going to get
I'm gonna
your
touch the elf.
PS5. Oh
I'm
my
gonna
God.
take your
Logan yelled
iPad, you
at me
little shit.
today. Our elf left this thing on the wall, a huge coloring thing. And Logan and I are coloring it today, and he started yelling at me because my knee was next to the
I
elf.
saw this TikTok. It was like it's one of the kids
Oh my
touched the
God.
elf, and they're all
They're
fucking
screaming. It's amazing. And they're like they're acting like somebody's
I
dying.
know,
And the
like
mom's
it's
like, "What
bloody. They're
happened?"
like, oh my god, because you think when you scream like that, you think your kids are hurt. He touched. This is
They
the
think they're
kid
killing the
holding the
elf.
elf.
The older kids think the like 2-year-old is
Kids
killing
are
the
so
elf.
stupid.
Kids are so
Oh
stupid.
man, let's move into parts of Austria and Germany and Italy, where Frau Perchta was an alpine goddess who was celebrated on the 12th night. This was before the Christian holidays took over, of course. So after Christianity took over, Frau became a demon. Of course, why wouldn't she? Much like the Samhain did for Halloween.
I'll win.
Samhain. Yeah. Duh.
Unless you're Sam Winchester, then you pronounce it Sam Hain.
Yeah, damn, Sam Hain did for Halloween. As a demon with horns, boing boing, she would stalk villages and punish anybody who pissed her off. It's always, no, you know what? I figured it out. It's men at these bars back in the old days whose wives were just pissed at them. So they went and they told stories about
Or it
their
was a girl who
wives.
turned them down because they were creepy.
Yes.
Or they just said, "No, thank you." And they're like, "Yeah, well, you're fat anyways."
All these stories, you're a fat troll. Haha, I got a good idea. Like this fat troll who was
There
killing
you go.
kids. You know,
You
because
probably
like,
eat kids anyways. I don't want to
yeah,
sleep with you anymore.
it's interesting because
There you
that's
go.
probably what
Mystery
a lot of
solved.
this is. It's
We should
probably a
call
lot
some
of what this is.
historians.
Yeah, I think we're onto something.
I mean,
Now,
yeah.
her actual appearance could range from a frail old lady to an actual demon. This would be a combination of what you would expect and what level of pissed off with you she is. She also had a bit of bloodlust when she was angered. However, if she felt you were obedient and faithful, she was a beautiful woman which kind of makes me think of an old beggar from Beauty and the Beast.
Makes me think
However,
that too.
yeah, it's
Just the
amazing.
opposite.
Crazy. To be obedient, you had to celebrate her at night, eat a traditional meal with special cakes baked in her honor, and if you didn't honor her at night, she would sneak into your room while you were sleeping, slit your belly open, replace your innards with pebbles and straw. Then, on the following day, whoever discovered your corpse would assume you had simply died in your sleep.
How that's so creepy. That's so creepy. And researching this, like I know I've talked about it before, there's only one Christmas episode of Supernatural, and I don't understand why, because there's so much good
There
stuff
is
to
some
work
like
with.
this one right here. These past two stories right here. Gold.
I mean, come on, the
Gold.
innards with your stomach, that sounds like Sam and Dean in a morgue being like, well, they didn't release this to the news, but this is what was inside of them. Like, come
Straw.
on.
They
That would have been
the morticians opening these bodies up in their straw. Like, come on, man. That's a good
that would have
story.
been a fun story. This is yeah, I mean, 15 seasons wasn't enough.
All the more just wait. In 8 years, they're gonna have a revival. I don't know.
I mean, they're still doing conventions regularly. They're all like a bunch of them. So I mean, they're all so in love with their own characters, which is
No offense to
fantastic.
Sam, but his shows aren't exactly working out right now.
No, yeah, and I
Just
would love
saying.
to see more Soldier Boy. Yeah, but I jumped ahead and like this I was had on season 12 this morning when I was working out and like, oh my God, there's so many good episodes in season 12.
I'll
It's just
get there. I'm on
crazy.
8.
But
Damn.
it's just, everyone's not a 10 out of 10, but it's just fantastic how many
Clearly
good
not,
ones
because this is
still
what happens
are.
when you're not a 10 out of 10. You get turned into a troll or you slit bellies open. Or why don't you tell us about these Christmas zombies in Wales?
So Mary Loud is the Christmas zombie horse in Wales. It is the name given to a wassailing folk custom. So I didn't know what that was, but apparently it's when you go house to house and you're singing. So that's in this actual Christmas song.
Huh.
Here we come a wailing, or da 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 da.
Yes.
Whatever. Apparently that's what they're saying. However, when they would go a wassailing, they had a giant horse's skull, and the horse's head was decorated with ribbons, and a person carrying the head was actually hidden under a cloak with a pole to control the horse's jaw. And sometimes the horse's eyes were like lights. And if you Google a picture of this, it's very creepy. Now, this isn't a super scary story for a monster, but just Googling the image is very disturbing. So the first record of it was in a book from the 1800s, so it's not super old like some of these other ones, called A Tour Through Part of North Wales by J. Evans. Usually this happens in South Wales, but for some reason this book was said North Wales. I don't know. That's what the research said, so I just wanted to make note of that. So Mary Loud roughly translates to gray mare. However, the origin of the name is not known. Some think the name is a reference to a pregnant horse that was cast out of the stable that Mary gave birth to Jesus in. The horse then roamed around looking for somewhere else to birth her foal, which is kind of funny because that's literally what Mary was doing, was looking for somewhere to birth her child because all the ends were full. She ends up in a barn and kicks out a poor pregnant horse. So there are some similar traditions in England, such as Hoodening in Kent or Old Tup in Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. These also involved a horse's head, a cloak, and going from house to house at Christmas time. It seems like something like the mafia would do.
Yeah.
So while this honestly doesn't sound like a monster at all, I already just said this, you just have to picture it. Like if you see the silhouette of a horse's head in your window, like I guess that's what they would do.
Your horse's ass.
There are similar traditions that occur in England. I just said that one, and that's what I got. So that one came up when I Googled monsters, and yeah, it's just creepy. It's weird. Doesn't make sense. Why would you do that?
I don't know. Again, let's go to Norway and Sweden now, where Lucy, I'm assuming
Back to the
Lussi.
Scandinavians.
Here we go. December 13th is Saint Lucia's Day. Today, she is seen as a beautiful young woman in a white sash, representing the saint roaming the streets with a health and safety officer with a crown of candles upon her head. This celebration involves the stories of Saint Lucia, who supposedly gave all of her wealth to the poor and was martyred for her faith. It's also a celebration of light.
So I'm going to take this here real quick because I'm going to assume that you're not still mad that you didn't get a Kirsten doll as a child, because I am. Okay. So this is a pop culture nod to Kirsten. Kirsten was my favorite American Girl doll. Still mad I didn't get the doll. My mom's like, I'll buy it for you now because she bought my kids the doll. Well, they don't sell Kirsten anymore. She's been discontinued. However, I read all her books, and in her Christmas one, they actually talk about this. And on the cover of the Christmas one, you see her with the candles on her head. Oh, what I would give to have that doll with that costume. Anyways, so there's reference to that. And also, like I mentioned earlier today, I read The Ref, and because it's one of the best Christmas movies ever. And this is the story that Caroline is telling at dinner, and she makes everybody wear the candles on her head. So she's talking about St. Lucy, and she talks a little bit different than what we're going to talk about in the movie. She says that she gave her dowry to the poor. So her fiance turned her into the Romans as a Christian. And when they went to burn her, it wouldn't take. So they had to stab her with a sword. And that's when her sister in law is like, this is a Christmas story. And she gets all mad. And here's your 4 degrees of supernatural. J.K. Simmons is in The Ref. He's also in Spider-Man with Ted Raimi, who is in Supernatural, the episode called Wishful Thinking.
Ooh.
And that's what I got.
Yeah. Well, much like a few of these Christmas monster tales, it's not always like this. However, just a few centuries ago, Norway celebrated Lucia or Lucy. Very differently.
What are you in the Lucy? You have some explaining to do.
The old calendar had December 13th as the winter solstice. So in Norway, it was known as Lucy Long Night, Lucy Long Natt, longest night of the year. Similar to Girla.
Like a porn name.
Yeah. What are you doing, Step Lucy? Everybody needed to get their shit done before winter set in, and they feared Lucy would get them otherwise. So the night before was when evil spirits and demons rose up to wander the earth. Children needed to be good, and the adults warded off evil by protecting their homes with the sign of the cross. Lucy was a hideous demon with tyrannical powers. She rode through the skies on a broomstick alongside other demons, evil spirits, and trolls, spreading mayhem, chaos, destroying property, crops, livestock, and kidnapping or killing anybody foolish enough not to be tucked safely into bed.
It's like this,
every story turns into some murderous lady, I guess. I don't know.
I know. Why is it always a lady? If it's not Krampus, it seems to be a lady.
True. If we could hop on our little plane and we're going to fly on over to Bulgaria, Turkey, and Serbia, where the Karen Kokolos, God bless, I don't know how to pronounce this. K-A-R-A-K on O-N-C-O-L-O-S. I don't know. Anyways, the Karakonkolos is generally portrayed as a cross between the devil and Sasquatch. In Turkey, he would stand at street corners on winter nights, setting riddles for passerbyers. If the traveler gave an answer that included the word black, they were free to go on their way. If not, he would strike them dead with a single blow. Seems a bit extreme.
I mean, yeah.
Elsewhere, their favorite trick was to disguise their voice to pretend to be somebody's friend or relative and then lure their intended victim out into the snow, similar to the Wendigo in Supernatural. Yeah, that's, again, what?
I don't know where people come up with this shit. I think a lot of, like, how did you entertain your kids before they had iPads and TV shows? And
this is how you made up stories.
Yeah.
It's no, I'm taking your iPad away. It's that frickin' Sam Squatch is gonna get you, kid. So I don't know, man. Whatever they needed to do. Sometimes a creature would set them into a trance and then leave them free to roam. However, in Serbia, the Karen Kokolos prefer to jump on the victim's back and use them as a personal taxi service. This exhausted the person, and they were only released at dawn. That's ridiculous. Who thought it? Like, who thinks of this shit? That's the craziest part. Like,
people.
This monster, he's not going to kill you. He's going to jump on your back. And guess what?
These were just horror movies of the past. They were literally like
That's
coming
true.
up
You
with...
didn't have horror movies, so you had to think of something.
Yeah, you had to entertain yourself. I mean, they even say there's a Christmas song where you talk about the ghosts of,
the ghost of Christmas past.
You got the ghost of Christmas past, but there's also a Christmas song where they talk about like scary stories.
It's true. You had to entertain yourself back in the old days because what were you going to do? Nothing. Especially
if that Yule lad came and blew out all your candles and you can't even see.
Listen, this is just like the 6th century version of a podcast, all right? Oh, they were just talking about monsters and shit, and then people started talking about it. And from there, it turns into if you invite a Karakonkolos into your house, they'd feel compelled to imitate their host behavior. So, man, mine would be pretty sad all the time. And if you set fire to silk or thread, the Karakonkolos would be tricked into setting fire to its own fur. and it would run from the house screaming to find water. This one's the funniest to me for
See,
some
that would
reason.
be a really funny one for Sam and Dino taken care of. Of
Yeah,
course, they would have their
again,
own
that would have been
supernatural spin
great.
on it. But yeah, we have to convince him to set himself on fire. Well, how the hell do we do that?
Or like they're imitating their hosts, so then they start acting like Sam and Dino. Come on. Or could you imagine
Oh,
like,
and all of a sudden it wants to eat pie and says "son of a bitch."
yeah, like I don't know, man.
They
Or
could have
like
had a lot
into
of
real
fun.
weird Asian porn or something like that.
They
Like,
should do like Doctor Who, where they have like Christmas specials that are just totally
yeah.
separate, and they could even take place in the past. They
I
can
thought of a
ignore the
really good Doctor
finale.
Who idea today of a crossover comic. It was with like Transformers. Because like, what if the Doctor in this
Oh, they're
comic
aliens.
tried to get into their TARDIS, but their TARDIS was actually a Transformer Autobot that's on the run from Decepticons in disguise, and so now he's trying to help the Autobot find his way back to like Optimus and crew. They could go to Cybertron, they could go anywhere in the galaxy, and they're on. He's using a sonic screwdriver, which could help fix the Autobot or whatnot. And I just figured like it'd be really cool seeing like the TARDIS turned into like an Autobot as a police box. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. That'd be real cool. I don't know, man. I was just on some bullshit, I guess, today.
I was listening. I was
Yeah, it'd be a
all
cool
for it.
comic, in my opinion. I got ideas, man. I got
Yeah,
ideas.
one of the things in Doctor Who that they only touch on subtly sometimes is like, oh, the Daleks are bad. They're all evil. Like this race is all good. This race is
But the
all
Daleks
bad.
we
And it's
found out
like,
in some episodes, like they're sometimes
right, there's
justified in their
some that aren't
things.
so bad. Right. But so I would love to have more of that because obviously with humans, we're all over the place. And he
Yeah,
knows that.
yeah. I don't know. I think it would be really cool. Anyways, let's get to the very last monster. For the love of God, people, this one is in
It's
Greece, and I
all
don't
Greek to
know
me.
how to pronounce this. It's the Caliconters. Guys, I'll spell it for you.
Calicantazario? It's Greek.
Maybe
It's all Greek.
Kallikantzaroi. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm very illiterate. However, in Greece, a group of demons called this thing were said to spend the year underground sawing through the tree of life that ran through the earth. Weird. Every December, when just a single thread held the tree together, the 12 days of Christmas would compel them to come up and wander the earth. By their return in January, the tree had repaired itself and they had to start again. Now, once above ground, they caused mischief and chaos, but above all, they sought to steal any child born over the 12 days of Christmas and turn them into a fellow, whatever the fuck their name is. They could be kept at bay by binding new more babies in straw and garlic. So, like vampires. You could also stop the creatures from getting into your house by placing a colander outside the door. The whatever their name is would be compelled to count the holes, but because the number 3 is holy in Greek, they would fail to count that number and have to start again. This would occupy them until sunrise, when the house would be safe until darkness fell. Okay, that's kind of mean. You made these poor creatures out to be autistic. Like, what the fuck, man? Like,
It is
there's
funny
just a
though, like
lot to unpack there.
when you were laughing about the tree though, it made me think about Supernatural when the gods all meet at the Elysian Motel and they're like, oh, you really think the world's in the back of a tortoise? So I looked that up. That was in Hindu. It was the reincarnated or Hindu deity Vishnu was reincarnated as a turtle Kachapa that carried the weight of the world on its back. So you get a lot of interesting mythology. And I think some of it
There
comes
is.
I think a lot of it just comes from one, people entertaining each other, and two, people trying to explain things that they had no fucking clue about.
Well, you're also trying to discipline your kids who don't want to listen because they have no entertainment, because back in
And if they
that
didn't listen
time,
then, they're more likely to die.
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, go outside, run around. You're probably going to get killed by the many wars or the whatever's happening out there. So, really interesting stuff. These monsters were all really fun. It was fun to do. If we missed any that you know of, by all means, let us know. If
Especially if they're not
not,
European.
yeah, if they're not, especially if they're not European, like that, I would be really interested to see what kind of Asian monsters there is, or South American monsters, or whatever it have it. Dive into that now. Before we wrap this episode up, Lauren, if you know anything about Hopsnews, which we used to do, was very beer centric, and that's where we came off of. And she has some beer school, which is really cool because beer school is something that I have missed. So, Lauren, why don't you go ahead and let us know about Christmas beer?
Yes. So this is literally the one I did for Hopsnews a few years ago. I actually found the printed copy And so we're going to go back to basically Scandinavian culture. We're going back to the Vikings because Christmas beer can
Yoo-hoo!
actually be traced back to Vikings. So before we unwrap this topic, pun intended, we should cover what makes a beer a Christmas beer. There really is no set recipe or guideline. So at the end of the day, if the label says it's a Christmas beer, it is. However, Christmas beers tend to be ales as opposed to lagers. All beers are either ales or lagers, but that's a whole other month of beer schools right there. Traditional Christmas beer also tends to be dark and malty and often flavored with spices or herbs, much like the one we had at the beginning of this episode. This is similar to winter warmers, which Christmas beers are often labeled as. Coriander, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg are just a few of the many spices that can be added. Now back to Vikings. Vikings are basically pirates from parts of Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Before Christmas was introduced to many cultures, the Vikings would drink strong barley-based beer in the winter. They would also offer this beer up to Odin and other Norse gods in hopes that the gods would then bring back the warm summer weather. This celebration was called Yule. Yule today translates to Christmas. I'm sure many of you have heard the story that 8-pound, 6-ounce baby Jesus was not born on December 25th. This date was chosen as a way to introduce Christianity to other cultures by combining Christmas with the winter solstice pagan traditions. This story is about as common as the IPA origin story, and there's always someone eager to mention it. But what better way to get other cultures to celebrate baby Jesus than through beer? 900 AD is when the Vikings were getting their Yule parties on. Then King Haakon the Good came into rule and began to use this Yule celebration to introduce Christianity to the Norwegians. So he combined the pagan holiday of Yule with the Christmas celebration by creating a law that you had to celebrate Christmas with beer. I personally have already started a petition to make this law again. You can have non-alcoholic beer. Fines were issued for those who did not comply. This is no longer the law in Norway, but brewers all over Norway still love to brew Jul Ol, which means drink Christmas. By the next century, Norway was a Christian country. The law continued on after King Haakon. The Gulating laws were then implemented, stating that each household had to brew beer for the holiday and, quote, bless it Christmas night and thanks to Christ and Saint Mary, end quote. The best grains had to be used, and if you could brew the best beer, your rank and status increased. I would be such low bar status. I can't brew beer for shit. That is when many spices and herbs started to get thrown in with that dark malty beer to improve flavor and popularity, which is actually kind of funny because you've seen breweries do that today. Like, how can we differentiate ourselves? How can we make this better? This Viking tradition spread to cultures all over the world. If they celebrate Christmas, they're most likely brewing a Christmas ale. However, Denmark may win for doing it the best. I may be biased because I am a Dane and can actually trace my lineage to Denmark, but it's still true. And we even still dance around the Christmas tree every Christmas Eve. So for 30 years now, 2020 excluded, the Danes have kicked off the holiday season on the first Friday in November at 8:59 p.m. with J Day. It translates to like basically beer in Danish. So it's released that day from Tuborg Brewery. I'm not even going to try. I tried. Okay. And which is now part of Carlsberg Brewery, which everybody's heard of. Tuborg employees drive around to bars dressed as blue elves and give out free beer and swag. It used to be on a Wednesday, but too many kids weren't showing up for school the next day. The drinking age for beer there is 16. I actually questioned a couple 16-year-olds when I was there because I didn't think that they should be drinking at the War Pigs Three Floyds Mickler Brewery. I made Josh go ask them how old they were. So before we wrap up, pun intended, we should cover Christmas beer in America. During the 17th century, North America was introduced to this Christmas beer tradition through the Swedes. Unfortunately, Prohibition then caused a bit of a decades-long hiatus on Christmas beer being brewed in the States. For most of the 20th century, if it wasn't a watered-down pale American lager, use that term lager lightly, it probably wasn't getting brewed here. Enter Anchor Brewing, RIP. I wrote this before Anchor Brewing was gone. In 1975, they brought back the Christmas ale to America and called it, quote, our special ale. I have not read this since I did the beer school, and this is really sad now.
Are you crying right now?
I'm not crying. I'm okay. So now just about every brewery in America has a Christmas ale or winter warmer. Each Christmas Anchor has tweaked the recipe and kept it secret. This year, when I wrote this, it was actually a brown ale. The hand-drawn label is different every year as well. At the brewery, they have a gorgeous display of their Christmas bottles through the years. They've used the same artist every year since 1975, except for 1 year. They obviously regretted that because it was only once, and then they brought the person back. And then I talk about 2020. I guess I wrote this in 2020. So we also have Sierra Nevada, which is what I'm drinking. We have New Belgium, which we don't anymore because I wasn't able to get their accumulation beer last year. Prairie is a great Christmas one. I've gotten that probably 6 years in a row now. My dad and I share the beer, and the kids look for the differences in the label. It's a family fun game. It's awesome.
I'm gonna be incorporating this holiday bash from Raleigh Brewing Company every year, I think.
There you go. Christmas bomb from Prairie though. It's $10 for a 12-ounce bottle, but it's fan fucking
That's not bad.
tastic. Well, it's not bad, but it's not
Um,
great.
yeah, never
It's gone
mind. A
up in the
12-ounce
last few years.
bottle of yeah, no, you're right. Prairie's also their artisan ales are pretty expensive, but
They are. It is really good. And that's
I
actually the beer I stole the trick from you with the peppermint and the chocolate.
I do miss Barbarian Brewing in Idaho, but I
Mm.
saw somebody on Twitter posted a gingerbread stout, and they said the 4-pack was going for $40.
Cheese and rice. Well, I mean, if it's a 4-pack, it's probably 16 ounces.
It
And honestly,
was,
that's cheaper than Prairie.
but
If it's a 12
$40.
ounce bottle but if it's $10 for a 12-ounce
Well,
bottle,
it is cheaper than Prairie, yes, but again, like that's on my price range. But
yeah. But this one has become a tradition. My dad and I share it. And I ripped the label off, and the kids, we've never been able to find all of them. It's like highlights. So it's the same scene. It's a Christmas scene, and you have to spot the differences. And we've never found all of them. So all right. In conclusion, it's not Christmas until I've opened a Christmas beer and Hans Gruber has fallen off the Nakatomi Tower. So this holiday season, make sure to do as the Vikings did and enjoy some festive ale. Merry Christmas, Glally Yule Skull.
we did it. Look at
I
that.
wasn't expecting that bit of
We
anchor
went down
throwing in there.
memory lane. Yeah, no,
Womp womp
it's
womp.
sad seeing where we were. So we started this podcast, obviously 2020. That's when we were doing Hopsnews as well. And yeah, man, that sucks. Anchor.
I wish I'd known that the anchor beer I had last year was going to be my last Christmas one ever. I didn't know that.
There's never a way to know that you're in the good times until you leave them.
Yep. Sometimes you don't know when the last one's the
I
last one.
know. It's just like one of those things like someday you're gonna pick up your kid and it's the last time you ever actually pick up your kid kind of deal. Like weird. Crazy. I don't know. That was Christmas monsters. On that note, speaking of kids and eating
I we were
things,
talking
and
about eating children, and then you're like,
yes, that
oh, last time
was
you pick up your kid.
then before they were eaten by the troll lady and her evil troll cat.
Or you lads. Oh yeah.
Yes. That was our Christmas monster episode. Next week, we have another good episode for you where we're going to be talking about Violent Night and other Christmas horror movies. Speaking of which, there is a Christmas horror film, not really horror, but there are two new ones out that I'm hoping to watch by next time. So, first of all, is the Unholy Knife or Silent Knife or whatever it is with Justin Long, and he's in that one. And then there is a brand new with Joel Kinnaman, who was actually in the DC universe, Suicide Squad. He's Rick Flag. It is Silent Night, where it's basically like Punisher, but if it was Christmas time, because his kid gets killed and he goes on a murderous rampage to get revenge. So it's like John Wick meets the Punisher. And from my understanding is he doesn't speak a word in this movie, which has my attention all the more because I want to see how this plays out. And that came out in theaters when we're recording this today. This out in theaters for a few days now when this comes out. Check that out. I'm probably not going to get to the theater to see this one, to be honest with you. I don't have the time like I used to. And let us know what your favorite Christmas horror movies are. Whatever it may be, let us know. We'll talk about it. There's Christmas comics. We're deep into the heart of Christmas season, one of my favorite times of year. Lauren, do you have anything before we wrap up?
I don't.
All right. Well,
Skull.
folks, make sure you subscribe, all of that good stuff. Hang out with us on Discord, hang out with us on social media. Thanks for being a part of this journey. Go vote for the Cheersies. You have until December 21st. And we will be doing a live show on the Nerd Initiative Network on January 2nd. And then if you're going to MegaCon in 2 months from this weekend, you will find both of us at MegaCon because we will be there in some fashion at MegaCon. Come say hi. We'll have stickers, all that good stuff. Maybe, hopefully, we'll have a panel. More to come from that. And next time you're at a brewery, bring your favorite comic book, support your local comic book shops, support your local breweries. Thanks for hanging out with us. Cheers.